There is a line in the ocean where the rules of life stop making sense. Above it, sunlight, color, the ocean you already know. Below it, for every 1,000 feet you descend, something gets stranger. Something gets darker. Something starts breaking rules that have held everywhere else on this planet. We have mapped more of the surface of Mars than we have mapped the bottom of our own oceans.
Less than 20% of it has ever been seen by human eyes or a single camera.
What we do know is this: the deeper you go, the worse it gets. And worse here doesn't mean empty. It means something else entirely. At the surface, the ocean runs on sunlight. Plankton bloom in the light, feeding fish, feeding the entire visible food chain, and most people picture when they think of the sea. That story ends at around 600 feet. Past that depth, sunlight becomes too weak for photosynthesis to work at all. This is the start of the twilight zone, a band of ocean stretching down to roughly 3,000 feet. There is no plant life here, no green energy of any kind. What falls instead is something scientists call marine snow, a friend. A slow, constant drift of dead plankton, waste, and organic debris sinking from the world above. It looks like nothing. Down here, it is the entire base of the food chain. And the animals that have adapted to live on it are unlike anything living in sunlight.
Many of them are transparent. The glass squid drifts with its organs barely visible,
the shape made almost entirely of clear tissue.
The glass octopus is nearly invisible outright service. Its eyes are often the only solid thing you can make out.
Nobody fully agrees on why transparency evolved so many times independently down here.
It may be camouflage, a way to vanish in the faint remaining light.
It may simply be cheaper. Pigment costs energy, and energy is the one thing this zone never has enough of. Other species take the opposite strategy entirely. Instead of disappearing, they make their own light. Down here, in permanent dimness, a huge share of animals produce their own glow through a chemical reaction called bioluminescence tours. And they use it in ways that would look nothing like light to us. Some species use a trick called counter-illumination. Seen from below, an animal's body blocks the faint downward light from the surface, creating a dark silhouette any predator can spot instantly. The firefly squid solves this by covering its underside with light-producing organs, tuned to match the exact brightness of the water above it. The outline disappears. It isn't hiding in the dark. It's hiding in light by making more of it, precisely calibrated to erase itself. Other tricks are stranger still. The bloody belly comb jelly glows a deep red, a color that barely exists at this depth because red light is filtered out of seawater within the first few hundred feet. To any predator down here, red is functionally invisible, which means the comb jelly's own glow and anything glowing inside its stomach simply cannot be seen. Every choice down here, invisible or glowing in a color nothing else can detect, is really the same question, answered differently. Who gets to see you, and who doesn't? The Twilight Zone hides one more thing. Not a creature, but an event. One that happens every single night, everywhere in the world's oceans at once. As darkness falls at the surface, billions of animals, cleans, lanternfish, squid, tiny crustaceans, cleans,
rise together from the twilight zone toward the surface to feed under cover of night. Then sink back down before dawn.
It is the largest synchronized migration of life on Earth.
And for most of human history, nobody knew it was happening.
It was discovered almost by accident during the Second World War. Naval sonar operators kept dissecting a strange, false seafloor floored.
A dense layer that rose every evening and sank every morning.
Tracked for months before anyone realized what they were actually looking at.
It wasn't rock. It wasn't sediment. It was an entire ocean's worth of animals, moving together, on a schedule older than the humans who eventually noticed it.
Past 3,000 feet, sunlight is gone completely. This is the midnight zone, stretching down to roughly 13,000 feet.
No dawn, no dusk, just constant cold and constant dark. This is where evolution gets genuinely inventive. The dragonfish produces red bioluminescence acanthants,
a color almost nothing else down here can see faces,
turning its own glow into a private searchlight that reveals prey.
Without ever giving its position away to anything else. Its eyes have adapted specifically to detect that hidden wavelength, essentially inventing a private channel of light no other animal down here is tuned to receive. Some predators skip light altogether and go the other direction, skin engineered to absorb over 99.5% of any light that touches it.
So efficient that even a direct beam from a submersible barely reveals their outline.
They are, functionally, shadows with a heartbeat. And then there's the anglerfish, whose reproduction is stranger than its glowing lure.
Males are born tiny and effectively helpless, with one job:
find a female in an ocean where encountering anything at all is rare. When he finds her, he bites on Tenfi, permanently. His body fuses into hers. Organs that are no longer needed simply wither away,
until he survives as little more than a permanent, living tissue graft, fed by her blood,
and existing solely to fertilize her eggs whenever she's ready. It's one of the most extreme reproductive strategies documented in any animal on Earth. Past 13,000 feet, the open water ends.
Is the abyssal plain, flat, featureless mud, stretching for thousands of miles, covering more of Earth's surface than every forest, grassland, and desert on land combined.
It may also be the least explored major habitat on the entire planet.
Food is scarce enough here that many species have adopted an odd survival strategy,
getting bigger, not smaller. Giant isopods the size of house cats scuttle across the seafloor.
Amphipods that would fit on a fingertip anywhere else grow to the length of a human hand.
Scientists call this pattern deep-sea gigantism, and more than a century after first documenting it, they still don't fully agree on why it happens.
When something large does fall from above Hendrete, a dead whale sinking slowly to the bottom, It becomes one of the richest events in this entire habitat. If that phrase sounds familiar, it's because we've covered exactly this on the channel before. The bone-eating Osedax worms that colonize a sunken whale skeleton and slowly dissolve it from the inside are found at exactly this depth on exactly this kind of carcass. A single whale fall can feed an entire local ecosystem for decades. Not every resident down here is a predator or a scavenger. The vampire squid, despite the name, eats nothing but drifting marine snow. Caught on long, sticky filaments, and survives on almost no oxygen, using blood built specifically for these starved depths. And in this cold, slow world, some animals simply stop rushing altogether. The Greenland shark, again, an animal this channel has covered before,
can live well past 400 years, the longest confirmed lifespan of any vertebrate on Earth.
Time itself seems to move differently once you're this far down. Beyond the abyssal plain, in the deep scars where one tectonic plate slides beneath another, as the ocean floor drops again a strace, down into the Hadal zone, named directly after Hades, stretching from roughly 20,000 feet to the deepest point ever measured on Earth, nearly 36,000 feet down. For scale, if you dropped Mount Everest into the deepest part of that trench, its summit would still sit more than a mile underwater. Pressure here exceeds 1,000 times what we feel at the surface TOEI, enough to be instantly fatal to an unprotected human body. And yet, it isn't empty. Snailfish, thin-skinned and gelatinous, hold the current record for the deepest fish ever documented, their proteins reinforced at a molecular level just to keep functioning under that pressure. Tiny, shrimp-like amphipods swarm the trench floor by the thousands inwards. And in recent studies, researchers found microplastic fibers inside their bodies, evidence that even the most remote point on Earth is no longer untouched by what happens at the surface. Deeper still, at hydrothermal vents along the trench walls, some ecosystems run on no sunlight and no marine snow at all astrance, powered instead by chemicals venting directly from the Earth's crust. It's a food web built entirely on chemistry, not photosynthesis. Which is exactly why scientists studying these vents keep bringing up an unrelated question: that if life can build itself around chemistry alone down here. Fewer people have ever descended into the deepest ocean trenches than have walked on the surface of the moon. Every dive down still brings back something science has never catalogued before. A transparent animal with no clear anatomy. A microbe, running on a metabolism nobody can fully explain. A light no one predicted, in a color barely visible to the human eye. We know why almost 3/4 of deep-sea animals glow, in the broadest sense. Or why some of them glow in wavelengths nothing else down there can even perceive.
Not unexplored the way a distant planet is unexplored.
Every 1,000 feet down, it gets stranger. And we've barely started counting.